Hey guys, welcome back to Film Feature 43. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different and actually talk about a TV show that doesn't have a link to any films at all. I'm going to talk about The Office, and more importantly, a specific character in The Office.
Nope, it's not Ashton Kutcher. It's Kevin Malone. Equally handsome, equally smart.
So if you've never seen The Office, Kevin's probably the dumbest person in The Office. And to be a Kevin is to be someone who's really stupid and doesn't understand things very well. So what I'm going to do today is there's a whole subreddit called Stories About Kevin. I'm going to read you one of the entries from Stories About Kevin. Then I'm going to tell you a personal experience that I've had with a Kevin. And then to wrap it up, I'm going to kind of lay out a theory about Kevin from The Office that I've seen on Reddit and also on YouTube here. So if you like this content and you want more of it, let me know down in the comments. Make sure you like this video to get it out to more people. And subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future. And I'll make sure to get videos out. So let's go.
Angela's cats are cute. So cute that you just want to eat them. But you can't eat cats. You can't eat cats, Kevin.
So the first thing I'm going to do is read you a story from r/StoriesAboutKevin, so enjoy. The story I'm about to read is from Careful Improvement. I own a bowling alley. My former employee was an ultimate Kevin. I own a mid-sized bowling alley with about 10 employees. Kevin was 19 when this happened, under a year ago, maybe 8 months. I hired him after losing 2 employees in a week, so I was desperate for somebody. He did so much damage, it was worse than having no employees at all. Here's some of Kevin's greatest hits.
We're called Kevin and the Zits.
He was caught humping a bowling ball in the break room. Kevin intentionally forgot to put oil on the lanes because he read somewhere it would make the bowling balls blow up, and he thought that would be cool. Kevin eventually got removed from anything except serving food and drink. I figured that'd be okay. Oops. Pretty soon, on the first day, I put him on duty serving food for a full shift. A woman comes up to the counter and asks to see a manager. Confused, I asked her what happened. She tells me the pizza is too dry to eat. I go to check on Kevin, but he blocks the entrance of the back room with his body and yells to the woman at the counter that we used a new tomato sauce. I immediately panic, because this is clearly a lie. We don't make our own pizzas, they're food service. I push past him and discover the SOB is serving the customers week-old pizza that has been sitting in a cold, dry room. Kevin tells me I didn't want to waste food. I thought you would be mad at me. We had a Christmas party one time, and Kevin literally tried to go down the chimney of the business, but the mofo couldn't go farther than his waist. Firemen came to get him out. On a side note, that's really not a good idea. Just ask Phoebe Cates from Gremlins.
And that's when I noticed the smell. The firemen came and broke through the chimney top, and me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird, and instead they pulled out my father.
I was using the toilet once, and Kevin walks into the bathroom and stands outside my stall, calling 911.
911, what's your emergency?
To report I was dead. I tell him loudly, "Hey, I'm alive in here." Kevin tells me, "You weren't moving. I thought you were dead. Sorry." Cops still had to check out and search the whole place. He bought a taser and used it on himself while on the job. Kevin told me he bowled a 300 with no proof, of course. He got super defensive when challenged, up to the point of sending me a Photoshop pic of 300 claiming it was his. Then he told me, "It was only an example, and his looked like that. That one was just only an example, I swear." And then he started crying. My business partner, call him Rob, who I worked with for over 20 years, was left in charge alone with Kevin one night. While I'm at home, I get a text from Rob. "I hate N-words, Jewish slurs, and lube suckers." Turns out Kevin took his phone. Then I fired Kevin. That was too much. He was still the worst employee I ever had. So as you can see from that story, the stereotype of Kevin is of a really unintelligent person. And I actually worked with a person that I would consider a Kevin back whenever I worked in food service. So I worked at a particular fast food chicken restaurant that's pretty popular, and I worked there for probably a year before Kevin started. So I trained all the new employees as they came on, and there was a guy who was there for a little bit longer than I was, who just had recently come back from a leave, and it was me and him. He was working the middle shift, and I was going to work the close, and Kevin was there working the in-between shift so he could be trained. It was his second or third day on the job. And we battered and fried the chicken right there in the store, so we had giant 50-pound bags of flour. And I was talking about how I just unloaded the truck with all this flour, and I slapped the bag, lightly kind of joking with the guy who had been there before me. And he goes, "Oh, this flour," and he slaps the bag. We also make the batter in store. We take water and we have this powder that we mix in with the water, and it creates like this eggy mixture that we batter the chicken with. Kevin, seeing us slap the flour, actually thinks it's hilarious, and he goes, "Oh yeah, this one," and he punches through the box that the batter bags were in. And he punched it so hard his hand went through the box and through like 2 or 3 bags of this powdered batter stuff that the top of the box came open as well, and the batter went everywhere. And it was so loud. In the place that I worked, we had multiple restaurants, kind of like a food court situation. The manager came running from like 3 restaurants down and come running to see what that loud bang was. And me and the other employee actually got in trouble because we should have knew better than to do something that Kevin could imitate. So the last straw for Kevin before he got fired was we opened at 7 a.m. and we started marinating the chicken. You had about 3 hours to marinate as much chicken as you could. It had to set for 24 hours, so you had to marinate enough for the next day. And then we opened. You started cooking about 9:30 because it took 12 to 15 minutes to fully cook the chicken. So you started the chicken out, and then the tenders were separately. Well, Kevin shows up at 7 o'clock, like every other batter fry did, and he started cooking the chicken immediately. He put the chicken down in the fryer, and he left it in the fryer from 7 o'clock till the store opened at 10 o'clock. So it was in the fryer for 3 hours. So needless to say, Kevin really didn't have a job after that. At the restaurant I worked at, managers did not like covering for people there. If they had to cover for somebody, it had to be like 15-20 minutes tops. So I saw numerous times where the person who was supposed to work back in the kitchen called off, and a manager actually covered that shift instead of calling Kevin in. That was my Kevin story. He's probably the biggest Kevin that I've ever worked with. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is a office theory about Kevin. Is Kevin from The Office embezzling money from Dunder Mifflin? We all know that Kevin isn't the sharpest employee in the office.
You tell me who this sounds like. Slow moving, inattentive, dull, constantly snacking, shows a lack of motivation.
Hey.
There's many things that he does. He shreds his own credit cards.
Shred anything. Ooh. It will shred a CD. It will shred a credit card. It'll shred,
He wears Kleenex boxes on his shoes to a wedding and puts his feet in the ice box.
An awesome party. The best wedding I've ever been to. I got 6 numbers. One more would have been a complete telephone number. This was epic. My Kleenex shoes were a huge conversation piece, but man, my dogs are barking.
He can't transfer calls to save his life. And so what this theory kind of states, which I believe came from Reddit initially, but there's also a video by 10K Productions where they kind of go into more detail. But this theory is that Kevin's actually putting up a front, is actually a lot smarter than he appears to be. So if you think about most of Kevin's antics, they kind of take place in front of people. He's not really that dumb to begin with at the beginning of the show. He's kind of slow, but he's not really dumb as we see him going forward in the show. By the time Holly makes it to the office, Kevin is so flanderized as the dumb character that Dwight's able to convince her that Kevin is actually mentally handicapped.
Have you been introduced to Kevin?
No, which one's Kevin?
He's here on a special work program. He's slow, you know, in his brain.
Oh, good for you guys.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you do?
I do the numbers.
Oh, good for you.
Do you want an M&M?
Oh, no, that is so sweet. Thank you, though.
Yeah. I keep them here at my desk so that everybody doesn't take them.
Well, that is a very safe place for them.
But what's kind of odd is, at the end of the series, we see Kevin is able to own his own bar and able to run it. He also wins in poker tournaments, and we see him being extremely good at poker. And also when Martin, the gentleman who worked for the office that was put in jail for insider trading, is talking to Kevin, Kevin talks about how he had to have Martin explain to him what he went to jail for because it sounds a lot like what Kevin does there at the office.
I had Martin explain to me 3 times what he got arrested for because it sounds an awful lot like what I do here every day.
So the theory kind of goes that Kevin's playing dumb and is pulling money away from Dunder Mifflin. He gets caught, and that's the real reason why he's fired. At the end of the series, we kind of get an explanation that he created his own number to kind of wipe away accounting errors. So instead of wiping away accounting errors, maybe he was using that to cover up some of the money that he was pulling away from Dunder Mifflin.
I'm seeing this symbol in the accounts from last year. It's all over the place. I don't know what it means.
That's the reason Kevin got fired. It's his magic number. He used to use it to balance his accounts. He used to call it a Kelevin.
We repeatedly hear about how the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin is the best performing branch of Dunder Mifflin, and that's why they are kept afloat after being told they're going to be shut down time and time again. So maybe Kevin's using his dumb guy routine to kind of skim a little bit off the top.
What are the odds that this is in any way real?
I'd say like 10,000 to 1.
Okay, I'd like $10 on those odds. If someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. If John Mellencamp ever wins an Oscar, I am going to be a very rich dude.
And that's the gist of the theory. So if you like this kind of content, I have a few more office theories that I have seen and kind of add a little bit to. If you want to see some of them in the future, let me know down in the comments. Leave a like on this video, get it out to as many people as we can, so I know that this is the kind of stuff you want to see. Also, I do videos on movies, about secret sequels, and I do remake reviews, and I also review a lot of the MCU stuff, whether it be TV shows or movies. So let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll see you in the next video.